So my today's hot take is, whoever says that Ateez are Saja Boys missed the whole point of Ateez and missed the whole point of Saja Boys. And I'll explain why. But by the way, you people of internet, I blame you for not listening to Stray Kids, to Ateez for so long. Because you know what? You know why? Because every time I came across Ateez in the last like maybe half a year or maybe a year, something like this, every time I saw something in TikTok or every time I saw something in Instagram, it was someone being half naked, doing some kinky shit. Like sun water in his eyes, or I don't know, like sun doing something like this, being topless and all that. And I thought that is what Ateez are about. And they are called Ateez, like Ateez. I thought that was what they were all about. And I was like, no, that's not my thing. You know, I like sexy concepts, but I hate when it's only sexy concept. I hate being manipulated on the basics of sex. I hate being thirst trapped on purpose. This is like, no, I'm not gonna listen to that, and I'm not gonna look at that. And then what happened was the following. My friend started to look at them more attentively because her another friend stands them, something like this. And I was at her place, and she was like, just look at them, okay? Just look at them. And she turned on In Your Fantasy. And I was like, well, they are very good looking. Yeah, they are singing and rapping very nice, very cool. But it's all the same. It doesn't change my opinion about them. And then she was like, okay, whatever, go fuck yourself. And we were talking further, and the autoplay on YouTube turned on Halazia. And I was like, wait a second, that's something different. And I was watching a music video for Halazia, and I was listening to the song, and then I read the lyrics of the song, and I was like, that's something completely different. Like, this is what they are about. And that's why, like, I was listening to Halazia for maybe a week after that, and then I started to get more and more into the group. I started to know, like, Honjun. That was the first time when I saw Honjun, because he never goes viral except for that video where he says how was the show. So I was getting into their like discography more and more, and I was like, wait, they are completely like not what I thought they were. It was all a stereotype about that they're just, you know, been sexy and all that. And I was like, okay, I was missing a whole bunch of very cool music, and I was missing a whole bunch of very cool meaning, because I was, you know, caught in a stereotype or biases. So you people from internet are responsible for this. No, I'm kidding. Nobody is responsible for this. But what I'm trying to say is that when people say that Ateez are Saja Boys, they, as people often do, replace the meaning and the aesthetics. And the aesthetics of Ateez is kind of, you know, sexy, kinky kind of shit. I love it how they say, my pirate mafia, strippers, cyberpunk, anti-utopia gang. This is Ateez. But actually, Ateez are not about that. The whole point of Saja Boys was that they were trying to distract people from their lives to get their souls. But Ateez, like, their main direction is actually returning people their souls. Like the songs like Halazia, like This Place Is Not Home, This House Ain't the Home, like Legacy, like what is this song? Gorilla, and many others. They are actually about, and a lot of other songs from all the albums, which I haven't gotten into actually very deeply yet. They are about that you actually have a soul, you actually have a compass inside of you that is leading you towards something great, and you need to live according to it, and you need to return your soul because everybody is trying to steal it. So it is actually the opposite of Saja Boys in the meaning. They're like yes, we are kind of sexy and all that, but here you can listen to some other songs which are going to tell you about how to be yourself and how to follow your dream and how to follow your path and how to follow your soul. So basically, if we were talking about Ateez as Saja Boys, they could be Saja Boys in this way. They would collect a huge that's actually what they do, I think. They would collect a huge crowd of people, and they would be playing some, you know, In Your Fantasy and Skin and Creep and all that sexy songs until you get your soul out of yourself and you're pulling it to them. And then they start playing Halazia. And in this moment, you realize that you have a soul. And you look at it, and they are like, protect your soul. Live according to your soul. And you're like, oh my God, I have a soul. I should live according to it. And you put it back into your chest. And ever since then, you always stay loyal and dedicated to your soul. And this is a kind of Saja Boys Ateez could be. Not the ones in the K-pop Demon Hunters. And actually, the funny thing is that when, you know, I really hate it when it's just a sexy concept, just for the sake of being sexy, or like a sexy song, a song about sex, or something like this. It's really like, I can have a mood for this in very rare occasions, but I usually do not listen to that out of principle. But actually, sexuality is a very important thing because it gives this vitality, it gives this joy, it gives this force to follow your path, basically, to achieve your dreams, to follow your soul. It gives this sensitivity, it gives this, you know, desire and drive. And actually, when there is purpose, then there is meaning, when there is something bigger, sexuality, it just has its function. And its function is to, you know, bring in the movement. The same way as, you know, this confidence has the point. I know one, or the leash, I'm on the throne, or whatever Hyunjin says. When it's just, you know, for the sake of saying we're so cool and nobody's above us and we are above everyone, woo. And I listen to such songs and I'm like, okay, and now what, whatever. But if there is a purpose, if there is a meaning, then this confidence is also, like, it also has a function. It has a function of being unbreakable in the way you achieve your goals, in the way you achieve your desires, in the way you change the world. And yeah, the context is very important. And the purpose is very important, basically, whether they have it or not. This is probably not going to be my last video about Ateez, because I'm just getting into the discography, and I just wanted to make this video very quickly because I wanted to express this, how surprised I am by the fact that they are not what I thought they are. But I think that there is much more to discover in them, and I think that I will want to talk about it a little bit more. And I'm definitely going to talk about Hyunjin in my next video. I'm really planning to make this video about the leadership styles concerning Namjoon, Hyunjin, and probably Banchan. So yeah, you may subscribe if you don't want to miss something like this. But today's video is about this, is about that the meaning makes all the difference. And the purpose makes all the difference. And it's not very obvious sometimes. At least it wasn't for me at first. Thank you for watching. See you next time.